This is January 14th, 2021, lesson 75 in A Course in Miracles student workbook. The light has come. So the lesson starts with, the light has come, you're healed, and you can heal. The light has come, you're saved, and you can save. You're at peace, and you bring peace with whatever you go. Darkness and turmoil and death have disappeared. The light has come. So something that happened yesterday was, I was driving for a Lyft, and this girl had ordered the ride for her boyfriend. And I knew that I needed to learn something from this lesson because the address was 777. Okay, so yeah, it was taking a while. He used up all his time and then had to go back to lock up his house. And I was patient enough to wait for him. And as we're going to hit the main road, he asks if he can go back. I told him that if he puts in the stop for the ride, I can, but if not, I have to keep going because traffic is really bad. So I keep following the direction and everything. And of course, I guess he was already mad that I didn't go back. And I'm hitting this weird road where it's straight, so you can hit the highway, go around, I guess, and then make a sharp right. And there's this car right behind me that starts honking. And then he starts yelling at me because I didn't follow what he told me to do. I told him that there was no way that I could have done it because he told me last second. It's perfectly fine. I'm getting paid for it. Just let it go. So as soon as I said let it go, he just got in this whole, I don't even know. We had this whole discussion and he just wouldn't let it go. I try to do the release technique, which is I must want imperturbability, to not be disturbed, more than I want control, more than I want approval, more than I want security, right? Because arguing in my car is not safe. I decided to release and be imperturbable. And then he just wanted to argue again, even though I wasn't entertaining it. I was just completely quiet and he just kept going and going. And I just started praying. I started saying the Old Father. We go to his house, he picks up whatever it is, whatever it was, and then we're off, okay? So he's rolling down the window, up and down, whatever. I guess maybe trying to irritate me. It's cold, so I'm just like, whatever. Drop him off, and slams my door. At the end of the ride, you can tell if they were a good rider or if they have their mask. He didn't have any of those two qualities, but I turned the cheek. So as I'm leaving the neighborhood, I see this Corvette, very nice car, and then the address, I guess the license plate on it, said I grew up. And that was a confirmation that I had from the universe, because I learned that if you're trying to be affirmed by people outside in the world, it's not going to happen, because people and their behaviors are so inconsistent. Sometimes people say that they want to change and they revert back to their old behaviors. Sometimes they do change and we make these assumptions. And it's very difficult for us to rely on something so inconsistent, something like nature, okay? But the universe is always consistent because the universe is God, and God is always willing things in your favor. Now, as I mentioned before with the video yesterday, God wouldn't put you in any situation that you're not capable or strong enough to handle. And we learned, especially if you're in the dating community or improving yourself in social skills, you put yourself in these social situations to improve, right? And they're going to be awkward. There's going to be tension there. And those that can handle tension the best are the most successful in almost every area of their whole entire lives, because they can handle all this energy within themselves and they can use that energy to create. So when we usually go out at night, it's probably the most chaotic and volatile because people are drunk, you have human nature. And I learned this because sometimes I would talk to girls and they wouldn't give me the time of day. Sometimes I would just be very persistent and they would tell me to fuck off. Sometimes I would have guys kind of confronting me because I was talking to their girlfriend, even though they're trying to socialize. Sometimes I would have these situations where I would have to compete with other guys, and my emotions would trigger my insecurities, and of course I would lose a girl because it wouldn't show that I was confident within myself. So I would have to learn so much about myself, and also being okay with how I was feeling, because the idea is that I'm in here and I can handle this. And being able to do that for yourself is very important because now you're learning how to flow with life, because the level of skill meets the level of challenge. That's also the same thing with potentiality and reality, because now you're looking at how you can call it the prefrontal cortex, your mind stops actually functioning, and now we're looking at the emotions that are affecting you, okay? And now you're allowing yourself to act within your own intentions, act within the nature of your own being. Because, again, if you're relying on the outside world to confirm who you are or whatever it may be, you're going to have a bad time, because you're allowing the world to dictate who you are, how you think, and how you're supposed to act. And if you can't do that for yourself, then you're not going to be able to do that for others. Because I learned that if you spot it, you got it. So anytime that I would see anybody with pride, or they were angry, or even apathetic, I would have to look within myself and see where was that coming from, because that was a reflection of who I was. That was this idea of, as you see the world, so are you. And going back to my story at the beginning, it's very difficult for one to see the lesson, because we're so caught up in our stories, we're so caught up in our emotions. And being able to give love unconditionally is so important, because that's what you're giving yourself, right? And the universe will confirm that for you rather than people. The more you do that for yourself, the more you are allowing yourself to be worthy, the more that you are allowing yourself to be confident, the more that you're allowing yourself to actually give yourself love and peace within yourself. And thus becoming the byproduct of what you've always wanted to be, because as you're putting yourself in these tenseful situations, right? The epigenetic sequence of your code, even with the affirmations or visualizations that you have, the molecular structure that you have within your DNA is changing, because now the switches are turning on and off, allowing yourself to believe that you can put yourself in these situations and thrive, because now your mind is not in this survival mode, it's coming from a thriving mode. And that's when we're emanating energy out rather than conserving energy, because we always try to conserve energy when we're in fear, when we are forcing things, and with any force there's a counter force. And thus, when we understand that light has come, that's basically how we're becoming present. So every time that we become aware of our thoughts or feelings and reactions, we have that space, and that space may be very tenseful, but it allows us to actually grow, because with tension, things grow. Just like an egg. You have a chicken that breaks through. If it breaks through the egg from the outside, it dies, but if it breaks outward, then it has the strength to do that. Just like a caterpillar, just like pretty much any kind of muscle that you're working out, with tension, things grow. So when you're feeling things are stressful or tenseful, that is the moment that you have to reflect and see, okay, what is the lesson here that I need to learn, and then how am I adapting that and applying that with this new context of how I'm feeling about myself.